Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my very, very amazing May wrap-up. I say very, very amazing because I have never read this many books in a month period of time in like ever. And I mean ever. And I read 14 books this month. And the number is still blowing my mind. I was so surprised when I counted them up like yesterday and I was like, okay, so I read 14 books. I thought I might have read maybe like 11 or 10, which was still pretty amazing to me, but then I realized that I read 14 and it's just like, how am I ever going to top that? So yeah, let's get into this very long wrap up. The first book that I read in the month of May is on my Kindle, so I'm gonna insert a picture right here, and that is Life Unaware by Cole Gibson. I got this book through NetGalley for review. I think it's Entangled Teen that published it. It's about a girl named Reagan who gets bullied after all of her instant messages and text messages and emails get published on pieces of paper and spread around the school, and everybody realizes that she's basically been talking about them behind their back, and so now everybody kind of hates her, and it's basically how she deals with the bullying. And while it was a very deep subject for the book to follow, I found that there were some issues with a lot of the characters, and that's why I only gave it 3 stars. After Life Unaware, I wanted to pick up something a little bit different, and boy was this different, because not only is it a graphic novel, it's a graphic novel about sex. And that is Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I talked about this in my book haul, and it's so interesting. It's about a boy and a girl, and they have sex all the time, but like every time they have sex, when the sex is over and done with, time stops. They literally stop time by having sex. And instead of being normal people freaking out by the fact that they can stop time after having sex, they rob banks and commit little tiny crimes. And basically, it's about them robbing this bank that the male main character worked at. It's a lot of plot building and like showing how they were like 12 or 13, they found out that they could actually do this, and then they meet each other. And it's basically a lot of flashbacks, it's a lot of world building, and I'm curious, this is volume 1, I'm curious to see how they continue in volume 2, because it ended on a cliffhanger, and it's definitely an interesting read, but it's definitely for more mature audiences. That's all I'm gonna say. And I gave this book 4 stars. So after reading that, I decided to go back to reading a book on my Kindle, which is another book I got sent for review, and that is Some Kind of Normal by Juliana Stone. I've actually done a review for this, so if you want more in-depth thoughts on it, click on this cover or the little eye, or it's down below. It's everywhere. Just click on it if you want to go watch it. This follows Trevor, a boy who ended up in a car crash and he fell into a coma, and then he comes out of the coma, but he's behind in school. He can't play guitar anymore, so he doesn't have a band. A lot of his friends are moving on, and he's trying to catch up in school by getting tutored by the girl main character of the book named Everly, who is the preacher's perfect daughter, and she's hiding a secret, and getting close to Trevor can definitely expose that secret. And somebody just honked. I also had a lot of issues with this, particularly with the main characters and how they react to things. The secret though was really, really good. I didn't expect it. And like I said, if you want to know what I thought about it more in depth, you can go watch my review, but I gave this book 3 stars. I wish I could have gave it more. After reading Some Kind of Normal, I decided to go and pick up the other graphic novel that I picked up this month, and that is Fables, okay! And that is Fables, Legend in Exile by Bill Willingham, Lan Medina, Steve Lealoha, and Craig Hamilton. I couldn't say that in my book haul either. Picture Once Upon a Time, the TV show, meets Grimm's Fairy Tales, because there are a couple people in here that we haven't seen, at least I haven't seen on Once Upon a Time yet, like Boy Blue and the 3 Little Pigs sort of deal, and cross that with some sort of mystery show, and that's what you have in this. Basically, all of the characters from like Grimm's Fairy Tales and all the Fable characters like Snow White and Big Bad Wolf and all of them are in here, and they're living alongside modern day New Yorkers in like our world because their land was taken over by, I forget the name of the big monster that took it over. And this book follows Big Bad Wolf, who is basically the detective sheriff guy of the Fables, and Snow White, and they have to try and discover who killed Rose Red, which is Snow White's sister. I freaking loved it, and I'm curious to see how they're gonna continue it in volume 2 because it didn't really end on a cliffhanger, but I'm sure that they're gonna have some sort of way to make it interesting, and I really need to pick up the next copies of these. There's like 20 volumes of this. I need to get my hands on them now. And I gave this one 5 stars because I absolutely loved it. And one of the things I really love about it is the pages. Unlike normal graphic novels that they do now, this one has like the comic book pages, like the newspaper pages, and it smells like a comic book, but it's a graphic novel, and I kind of really love it. The next book that I read in May is the book that I asked my dad to order for me, and I unboxed this month, linked in the description because I did a video on it, and that is All I Know Now, Wonderings and Reflections on Growing Up Gracefully by Carrie Hope Fletcher. She is a YouTuber. I think everybody should know her. It's way past my bedtime. Alright. She calls me, and then she doesn't answer. Okay. Like I've said in both my book haul and my unboxing, Carrie started a blog called All I Know Now, where she gives advice to teenagers on how she grew up and things that she wished she knew when she was a teenager, and then it became the book. So like the first 2 acts, I kind of felt like they weren't really relatable for me because I'm not dealing with bullying and I'm not in school anymore. So I didn't really relate to those as much, but I do think they were good tips for people who are younger than me who still need these tips on how to get through high school and middle school and things like that. The rest of the book I definitely related to because it relates more to as she grew up after high school and like love and romance, and I totally related to all of that and I loved it, and a lot of the things she said in here I wanted to bookmark. There's a few bookmarks in here that I really loved, and I gave this book 4 stars. Following All I Know Now was probably the #1 book of the month that I've read. Maybe even the definitely the #1 book I've read so far this year. It has topped Awakening by Shannon Duffy, and I think everybody has probably either read this or needs to read it or has heard about it somewhere, and that is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I cannot say enough good things about this book. And it made me very emotional, and I cried a lot like I did with Tifios. This book follows Finch and Violet, and they meet one day at the top of a bell tower where they're both planning to commit suicide. So it's a fairly heavy topic. It also deals with mental illness with one of the characters, and it doesn't romanticize it. I really like how she shows that even if you have a mental illness, it doesn't necessarily mean you're sad. It doesn't mean that you're just going through life doing the motions. There's a lot more to life than the mental illness, and you're not your mental illness. You are a person that has a mental illness. It doesn't define you, and it doesn't make you that mental illness. I heard this being compared to, I think it's even in like one of the blurby things on this, that it's been compared to both Eleanor Park and Tifios, and I kind of agree with it, that comparison. That's actually a really good comparison. And I definitely loved this book, and I gave it 5 stars, and it has been my #1 read of the year so far. So after that bundle of emotions, I wasn't really sure where to go, so I just randomly picked up one of the books that I hauled last month that I said I got from my doctor's office, and that was Flower Power by Anne Walsh. This is one of the Orca Current little tiny things, and I think at one point it belonged to a library, and the yellow is totally throwing off my white balance. This book is about a 12-year-old girl who wakes up to find her mother in a tree, chained to said tree. When I hauled this, I thought maybe her mom's a hippie and a tree hugger type person, and somebody's gonna end up cutting a tree down, and she wants to save the tree. And I was right. I guess this would probably be a good book for others to read, like littler kids, but 18-year-old me did not enjoy it very much. I feel like it could have been resolved within the first few pages. It could have been a really short story, but it ended up being like 100 and something pages of just her screaming out of a tree. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I gave it like 2.5 or 3 stars. And I'm probably gonna unhaul this the next time I do an unhaul because I don't really want it on my shelf anymore. I'm not really interested in it. Maybe I'll give it to my cousin. He's coming over this weekend, so maybe I'll give it to him. This is second... Angela!
I can't see you. Hi. I am currently filming. I am literally, like legit filming. You're being recorded right now. Say hello. Hey Danni'S, you too.
We're now coming up to the next few books that I read while I was camping, and I think I read about 3.5 books and then finished the other half of a book once I got home. The book that I was half reading when I left to go camping was Red Heart Tattoo by Lurleen McDaniel. You guys know, if you've been on my channel for a while, you guys know that she is one of my favorite authors of all time. I have read her since I was like grade 6, so that's 6 years. That's a long time. Wow. This book is about a bomb that happens inside of a high school on the day before Thanksgiving break. 9 people are dead, like 20 people are injured, and it basically follows this one group of like 6 kids, and it bounces from point of view of each person. And it follows them after, well, before and after the bomb and how they dealt with it. This book came out, I think, in about 2012, and I have to admit it's not my favorite book by her. Felt like a lot of the characters were just kind of that stereotypical teenager, and a lot of the dialogue was just really cheesy and like what adults expect the dialogue of a teenager to be, but it's really not anymore like that at all. And because I had some issues with her characters and some of the writing, actually, I had some issues with too, but because of those issues, I think I gave it like a 3.5 or a 4-star rating. It says 4 stars on my Goodreads, but I think I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I picked up after Red Heart Tattoo, I wanted something light and fluffy and easy to get through, and I definitely got that delivered to a T on a silver platter, and that is The Fill-In Boyfriend by Casey West. This is her most recent release, I believe, because it just came out at the very beginning of May, and I got it like a day before it was, or day or two before it was supposed to release. This is about a girl who goes to prom, and she's bringing her boyfriend for the first time so that all of her friends can meet him. But then at said prom, he breaks up with her in the parking lot before any of her friends get to meet him. And instead of showing up without the boyfriend that the one friend questions is real, she decides to find a fill-in boyfriend. And she happens to find a guy sitting in his car in said parking lot and asks him to be fill-in Bradley. A lot of drama ensues after this, and let me tell you, a lot of it is kind of that stereotypical thing where there's one friend that kind of thinks you're the head of the group, and they want to take that place, so they make everybody turn against you. It was a lot like that, and I mean there were a lot of different things that added up to why that was happening, but I just felt like some of it was really stereotypical, and a lot of the things weren't really resolved as much as I wanted them to be. It did have a really okay ending as far as resolutions go. There could have been more done within it, but there wasn't. But I guess that would happen after the book finishes, if the book were real. And I can definitely see why people really like Casey West's writing, because it's just that cute, fluffy, contemporary, summery read that everybody wants to read at some point, which is why I went into the next book right away after I finished this one. I gave this one 4 stars. And like I said, I went into this one right after because I absolutely loved the first book that I read by her. And this is actually the first book I ever owned by Casey West, but I hadn't read it. I tried reading it once after My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick last year, and it didn't happen. I got like a chapter in and just stopped reading it and went on to Looking for Alaska. That's besides the point. The book that I'm talking about now is The Distance Between Us by Casey West. This one is about Cayman, and she works in her mom's doll shop underneath their apartment, and the doll shop is really creepy. One day, a really, really rich boy comes in to purchase a doll for his grandmother's birthday, and so a friendship blooms between Cayman and Xander. She doesn't really want to let herself get attached to him very much because her mom has always told her that the rich people don't really stay loyal, and like I said, drama ensues after she grows attached to him. This one was really hard to describe because I was trying not to spoil it, but I mean, it's kind of hard not to, so I tried to do as best I could. I really loved this book. I loved the banter between Cayman and Xander, and I loved her best friends. And I loved everything about it, really, how their relationship came together and how like there were little things. I mean, every relationship has their little things that when people are reading their relationships, they kind of get annoyed with them. And I just felt like Cayman was a little bit too judgy towards the fact that he was rich. But I mean, I guess everybody would kind of be like that, especially with a mother who's always warning her that the rich people don't stay loyal and they have a short attention span. There are some major things that occur in this book that are like, oh my god, and at one point I was reading this and I got so drawn into it that I didn't realize that I was talking out loud while reading it until my dad's girlfriend was like, what did you just say? And then I realized, I was like, oh god damn it, after reading a part in this, and I didn't realize I said it out loud. And I was like, oh, did I say that out loud? And she's like, yeah. Overall, I really loved it, and this and that one are both short-ish. They're really fast to get through, so I guess they're short. Contemporary reads, and I need On the Fence right now. I don't know about her other series, but I need more of these adorableness, and I gave this one 5 stars. 5, all the stars. After that, I decided to pick up the book that everybody has been telling me to read, and I mean everybody. And I finally picked it up, and I finally read it. I finished it when I got home from camping, and that is Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell, however you say that. The only other book I've ever read by her is Fangirl, over here. And I love Fangirl. I liked this one. I don't think I liked it as much as other people did, and I don't know why I didn't really like it as much as others did. I mean, I still really enjoyed it, and I still really liked it. I just didn't love it. And it is set in the 80s, and it's about 2 misfit teens, Eleanor, who is overweight and big curly red hair, and Park, who is part Asian, and they end up having to sit together on the bus, and after that it just kind of sparks a relationship from there, and it was really, really cute, and there was a lot of deep stuff in here, and it was very, very sad, and the ending, it just, I don't know, I have so many mixed emotions for this book, and like the ending, it was an okay ending. I just wanted more from it, and I feel like it should have been like, it didn't even have to be longer, it just needed a little bit more of a better ending. I wanted more. I don't know how else to explain it. The next book that I finished, Tyler got it for me, and I was absolutely like in love with it as soon as I had it in my hands, and I had to read it, so I quickly finished Eleanor Park, and then I read this one. I finished this in like maybe a day, which is usually how reading this series books go, and that is The Heir by Kiara Cass, the fourth book in the Selection series. First 3, the Selection, the Elite, and the One, are all about her mother, and this is Edelyn, and this is about America's daughter, and her going through her very own selection. I am not going to give any more explanation than that. Let me just tell you that Edelyn is so much like her mother. It is ridiculous. She is stubborn, she is hard-headed, she is very, very annoying at times, but I mean, I get it. I get why she's like that. And I don't really want to give too much away on this, and I'm bouncing it around a lot, but I don't want to give too much away because it is the 4th book in a series, and I don't want to give any spoilers for the other books. But I absolutely love this book, and I can't wait for the next one. It's just like, I need the next one now, because this one ends on a cliffhanger, and that's all I'm gonna say. But I need another book, and I gave this one 5 stars because even though America and Elin were both annoying in this book, well, America was annoying in this book, but America was annoying in her own set of books. But even though those characters were really annoying at times, I get so sucked into this world and the fact, like, just every aspect about this world that I get through these books so fast, and it just feels like I want more every time I finish one of these books. And that's why every single one of them has gotten 5 stars for me, and this was no exception. It also got 5 stars. And the last book that I finished it at Tyler's, and his whole family was laughing at me because of my reactions to what happens in this book. And this is like a close second to All the Bright Places. Maybe even like tied with All the Bright Places. And I didn't expect to have this book at all because I unboxed it this month. So the unboxing on the eye and down below and on the screen once I hold the book up. And that is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is an ARC copy, and it was sent to me by Random House. And I don't know whether it was because I won a giveaway on Goodreads, because I remember entering a giveaway on Goodreads, and it's kind of like what happened when I got Kissing Ted Callahan and Other Guys by A-May-Zing. But this one is like a really big advanced copy because it is not out until September 1st. But I need to hug it for a minute. This is about a girl, and I didn't know her name before going into it, but her name is Madeline, I think it's Madeline. And basically, she has a very rare illness that basically makes her allergic to everything in the outside world. So she can't leave her house. She hasn't left her house in almost 17 years. And so I wasn't really sure how this was going to play out. But then one day a moving truck comes and somebody moves in next door, and it's a family, and there is a boy her age, what a coincidence, named Ollie. I was right when I assumed that it was Oliver as his full name. This book was written really different because like sometimes it was the character talking, and then other times you would see Life is Short spoiler reviews by Madeline. I don't think you can see that. And then it would be like a book that she's read, Alice in Wonderland, spoiler alert, Beware of the Queen of Hearts, She'll Have Your Head. And then you see like her writing in a notebook, Ollie's formula, and stuff like that. And then there's IM messages between her and Ollie, which is how they kind of communicate because she can't leave her house. And a lot, and I mean a lot, happens in this book, and you kind of don't expect anything much to happen because she can't leave her house. What is gonna happen with her not being able to leave her house? But let me tell you, a lot happens, and oh my gosh, I am so thinking about doing a video review about this because I need to get, or maybe just a book talk, because I need to explain all of my feelings about this book and how frustrated I was with some of the characters, but it was a good frustrated, okay? And just everything about this book, everything, just everything, okay? Everything was so amazing. So many emotions for this book, and it is definitely a 5-star read, and I will recommend it to anybody who asked for a contemporary read, because this, all the feels, everything, just the title says it all. Everything, everything. So those were the whopping 14 books that I read this month. I am still amazed that I actually managed to read that many. We are on the 2nd day of June and I have not completed any books yet. I'm not gonna babble on at the end of this anymore because it's probably very long as it is, and I don't think you guys need to hear me babble on anymore. So I guess that is it, and I will see you guys in my TBR, which is going to be up like right after this. So yes, I will see you guys in that video. Bye!